Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over your first snowstorm for portions of the Northern Rockies, Upper Midwest, and Upper Great Lakes. We're going to be going over who could be seeing snowfall in this event, and we're also going to be going over a couple different model variations within this, and then at the very end of the video we'll go over my personal snowfall forecast for this snowstorm with my own handmade forecast graphics. Some areas could be seeing as much as 4 or 5 inches of accumulating snowfall. Now, here would be the current National Weather Service page. Quite a lot going on. Red flag warnings for portions of the plains and also for parts of the southern Great Lakes, back through portions of the Rockies and also into parts of California there, where we still have some high fire danger. We have high wind warnings in effect for portions of Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana there. We also see wind advisories surrounding that region, which goes all the way into the upper Midwest, the northern Rockies, and also portions of the mountainous west. We're also looking at some heat advisories for portions of southwestern California, and the complete opposite in portions of northern Montana, where you actually have some winter weather advisories. We also see some of those hard freeze warnings in effect in that purple for parts of Idaho. In the darker blue for Idaho and Oregon, we have freeze warnings, and then frost advisories in the medium shade of blue right there. We also see some air quality alerts still lingering for portions of central and southern California, with some wind advisories for the northern Adirondacks and also for parts of interior upstate New York. Now, here would be the European model, and we're going to look at the European model, the GFS model, which is the American model. We're also going to look at the Canadian model, which is the CMC model, and then we're also going to look at the German model, which is the Icon model, and we're going to look at all four of those and compare what they are showing. So here's the European model, and we're going to go and time this through. The European model, I'll warn you guys, is most likely the farthest north track that I've seen on most of the, I would say, 4 or 5 main models that I like to use. Now, we see this system that's dipping out of Canada, and this is the one that we're going to be focusing on. You're going to start to see that on the left-hand side of your screen, you start to see some sort of precipitation form out here in Wyoming and Montana. That'll eventually move to the east, but right now, that's most likely going to be a different video. Right now, we're going to focus on this one over portions of the northern plains because that'll be more of an immediate threat. Also, tomorrow or maybe the day after, depending on how much this changes, I'll most likely be updating you guys on a potential snow event for the mountainous interior northeast, where some areas in parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine could see up to a foot of snowfall if current model guidance is correct. So I'll be updating you guys on that in tomorrow's video if that all holds up. Now, here would be by Saturday, early in the morning. The sun has not risen by this point, but the sun has risen by, this would be Saturday, most likely right around 7 or 8 a.m. Central Time, and we're looking at that 32-degree freezing line still impacting many of the areas that are seeing snowfall, but you do start to see this area which is not above or not below 32 degrees, but still seeing snow or icy precipitation. Now, in that region, you will most likely not see accumulation on the roadways or the pavement, but you'll most likely see some accumulation, maybe minor accumulation on something like your deck, your porch, let's say your grassy surfaces. So those colder surfaces, you'll most likely see that accumulation on. If you're below 32 degrees, you'll most likely see that on pretty much all the surfaces because it will be cold enough. Now, let's play this through even more. Here would be by Saturday, I would say probably right around your lunchtime or maybe just after as you're heading into the evening hours, and you're looking at that heavy snowfall in the darker shades of blue for portions of North Dakota and Minnesota. So we have a wide swath, especially for the northern parts of those states, where you're seeing some of that snowfall according to the European model. And again, the European model has the farthest north track, and I think this is a little bit pushed too far to the north. Now, we also start to see some mixing for interior Wisconsin, and you'll start to see that area kind of expands, and you start to see a little bit more snowfall pop up through there. Now, here would be for Sunday. Actually, this would be Saturday, late in the evening. So probably by the time it's very dark by this point, you're probably about to go to bed by this point, and you're seeing some snowfall still lingering for northern Minnesota and getting into extreme parts of southern either Ontario or Manitoba. I'm not quite sure. The map is too zoomed in here. Now, here would be by Sunday morning. morning. Still, the sun is not risen by this point, and we're looking at that snowfall really intensifying through the northern plains and northern Great Lakes. You're starting to see our next system, which again we're not going to talk about in today's video, but that is starting to creep up on us in parts of the Dakotas. That's where you're starting to see some snowfall for those regions. Now, let's start talking about how much snowfall the European model is showing for this event. We're looking at some of the higher elevation regions getting up to 2 feet. Although I would say if you're lower in elevation but still around a mountaintop, you'll probably get right around 6 to about 12 inches of snowfall, maybe 12 to 18 inches as you get into Wyoming and Montana. So ski resorts will definitely be enjoying that. Here would be for the northern plains. We're looking at maybe up to 4 or 5, maybe even 6 inches of snowfall in parts of northern Minnesota and northern North Dakota. And let's quickly hop over to what the Great Lakes view looks like of this. And we're looking at some dusting accumulation over portions of northern Wisconsin and northern Michigan there, and especially the UP of Michigan. Now, let's start looking at a different model representation of this. Here is the GFS model, and we're going to start looking at what it shows. Now, the GFS model is a little bit further to the south. Here's your low pressure center, and it's right here in parts of Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado. But look at where precipitation is. It's set up to the north of this system. So your freezing line is somewhere right around here by this point, I would say. So some of these areas that are seeing snowfall still have not seen their 32-degree temperature point, and they're still above freezing, but they're still seeing snowfall, and that is mainly just because it's a little bit cooler up in the upper parts of the atmosphere. Now, here would be by Saturday morning. You're waking up by this point, probably eating breakfast, and you're seeing some snowfall outside 4 parts of North Dakota, South Dakota, and as well 4 parts of central Minnesota, if this is correct. And you do see that we have quite a pressure gradient, indicating that we have some rather stiff winds over parts of Kansas, Missouri, Iowa. So to the south of the system, you might be seeing some blowing rain. Not so much for the northern part of the system. So you guys might see some breezy winds, maybe gusts to 20, 25, but it's nothing that's going to cause, let's say, blizzard conditions. Definitely not that. Now, here would be by Saturday in the afternoon. We're definitely looking at some very heavy snowfall accumulation for portions of northern Wisconsin, parts of the southwestern UP of Michigan, and even into the northern part of Minnesota there, where you're looking at some quite heavy accumulation. Here would be by Sunday, actually this would be Saturday late in the evening, getting into Sunday morning, and we're looking at some wraparound snowfall on the backside of this, although most of this has switched over to rain for the bulk of the eastern half of the system. Now, here would be by Sunday morning, and the system is really starting to depart. Now, let's start looking at the snowfall totals for the GFS. We're looking at some isolated areas in the higher elevations, looking at maybe 6 to maybe 10 inches of snowfall. But then look what happens in the Midwest. We're looking at some areas in parts of northern Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan, looking at 3 inches or so, and also there for parts of North Dakota. And you see that stripe where you're seeing at least a dusting of snowfall if this were to accumulate. And again, these temperatures might be a little bit too warm for too much accumulation to occur, but maybe a quick dusting. Here would be for the Great Lakes view of this, and again, you still see that 3-inch, maybe even 4-inch area of snowfall for portions of Wisconsin. Now, here would be the Canadian model, and let's start looking at this one. And the Canadian model, if I'm not mistaken, does have quite a robust system move through. Now, here would be by Saturday morning. Here would be by Saturday as you're starting to wake up. This would be right around 7 or 8 a.m. on Saturday. This would be October 17th. So this is this upcoming Saturday. We're looking at some snowfall for the northern plains. Potentially, we could see some winter weather advisories, or maybe even if this really intensifies, some winter storm warnings go for these regions. Here would be by Saturday as you're starting to pack up lunch, as you're starting to kind of go on to the rest of your day. It's the evening time by this point, and we're starting to see some snowfall, rather heavy, move through parts of northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the western UP of Michigan. Here would be by Sunday, or actually this would be again Saturday, late in the evening into Sunday morning, and we're looking at those blue lines indicating 32 degree in the upper atmosphere or lower. So you are starting to see some freezing temperatures move through here, but that is not all going all the way down to the surface. And usually in the fall, this blue line, usually right around 522 thickness, usually indicates your freezing temperature. So if you really want a good idea of where your freezing line is, it would most likely be right here. And we're looking at some snowfall in the interior parts of Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan, as well as northern Minnesota there. And then the system really starts to depart, and you start to see some actually lake effect snow on the back end of this, and that really starts to move out of here as you get into Sunday morning as you're waking up. Now here would be the total snowfall going through Sunday morning, October 18th, for the system, and we're looking at some areas getting as much as 6 inches of snowfall in parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Accumulation will most likely be restricted to maybe 3 inches, but still some rather hefty accumulation, and most of that will come during the nighttime hours, or at least in the evening hours, so it will be slightly cooler and you don't have the sun to really melt away that snowfall as it's falling. Here would be the last model. We're going to look at the German model, and this one is rather similar to what the rest of the models are showing. Here would be by Friday, and this is actually quite a weak system according to the icon, and I'm actually going to play through two different systems because the icon actually keeps this system not going until I would say probably right around Saturday or Sunday, so it is much weaker and much later than all the rest of the models. Here would be your patch of snowfall by Friday morning. Let's start moving into Saturday by this point, and most of the snow has moved out, but let's wait for this next system to move through. Here would be by Saturday morning. We're starting to see most of your snowfall start to kind of set up a thin layer of snowfall on the northern fringe of that precipitation. And as we play this through, that snowfall starts to widen over interior Wisconsin. By that point, let's continue this even further out. And here would be by Saturday late at night, getting into Sunday early in the morning. We're starting to see some transition over to snowfall in parts of the UP of Michigan and also northern Wisconsin, but not much in the terms of accumulation with the storm. Here's what the icon model shows for the storm, and we're looking at maybe 2 to 3 inches. I would say accumulation would be closer to an inch or two of accumulation, if that. So the German icon model really doesn't show too much in the way of snowfall, but also for the Rockies, it does show quite a bit of snowfall, and there will be definitely quite a lot of snowfall for the Rockies. Now here's my forecast. In the grays, I'm showing mountain snow, so that is very variable depending on your exact location. So I'm not going to pinpoint that. You can go to your local National Weather Service office, and most of them have some sort of snowfall graphic out for that individual region, and it is very detailed and precise based on the elevation changes. That's just something that's way too hard and intricate to draw on a map, so I just brush it over with mountain snow. But again, trust your local officials with who have that data, and you can go to your local National Weather Service page, and they will most likely have that somewhere available on that page. They do quite a lot of work in terms of forecasting snowfall, temperature, rainfall, all of that. Now, here would be your coding area, so maybe under an inch of snowfall for these regions in the light blue. I don't think it'll enter South Dakota, parts of southern Minnesota, Iowa, like some of these models are showing. I think that's a bit too far to the south. 1 to 3 inches in this darker shade of blue, and we're looking at that for portions of northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the western UP of Michigan. And I don't want to leave out an isolated area that sees maybe 3, 4, potentially 5 inches of accumulation. And if you were asking me where that would be, it would most likely be right in here in interior Wisconsin or portions of interior Minnesota away from the Great Lakes, where it's a little bit chillier. That's the two areas that I would put for maybe sees 3 to 6 inches of accumulation, depending on how fast the systems move out and how intense this system does get. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.